I think I messed that up. Oh,
Welcome,
dear me.
welcome to our world.
Oh, isn't that something? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our show. This evening we have our very special guest again, Bishop Plato Angelakis. Bishop Plato, how are you? Nice to have you back.
Thank you for having me. I'm doing fine.
That's great. I've got a number of questions here for you that we hope you'll be able to answer on the topic of spiritual protection when dealing with evil.
I can certainly help.
Okay, so if I could start with the first one. Do you accompany the Ottawa Paranormal Research Team on every investigation or only when needed for demonic entity removal?
I've recently only been attending when I really am needed. I do try to get out on as many of the cases as I can, being geographically sort of um, far from where they are now, a few hours away. If there's a case that I can go to, I like to join. I like to sort of just be there. Um, I think it's just one component of the investigation that I actually do enjoy being part of. Uh, the Ottawa Paranormal Research Team is we're a close group, so I consider myself slightly an investigator, probably not as good as John would be, who's the lead investigator. But but I certainly, if he calls me for, and he has, there's a few actually that are pending, where there are certain demonic sort of things going on, and again, they're intelligent enough, experienced enough to let me know that this is too much for them to handle. We've got dates scheduled for that. So I will definitely be attending those for sure. If I can attend any of the other ones, I usually do. And sometimes I get lucky and just happen to be there and they need me, which that has happened a few times as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Alrighty, question number two. Some people simply dive into investigations without first preparing themselves or seeking any spiritual protection. For example, when I embark on an investigation, I pray to God in Jesus' name for protection. What are your thoughts on those who don't? And would you please tell our viewers about the dangers of non protective measures?
Well, I like I mentioned in the previous show, we're dealing with something that's spiritual, not physical, and the spiritual realm works on different rules, protocols, and as such, people shouldn't just dive in. I think people should prepare themselves. It is, I guess, it's an assumption that if somebody is diving into sort of a spiritual investigation, because we're dealing with the paranormal. This is not a physical. You're not a police officer going to a 911 call, right? It's not a physical dealing with the physical. It's you're going in to deal with the spiritual. So the assumption would be that you have an understanding of the fact that you are dealing with something that is spiritual. Spiritual, there is no time space. There's no constraints there. They've got sort of full reign. They've been around a while, and you don't know what you're dealing with when you get there. Certainly, prayer. I would assume I'm making that assumption that people would understand that if you're going to go into a spiritual, you should have some belief system in place. You should have a prayers that are close to you. Those sorts of things. Certainly, one needs to be prepared. They shouldn't be just diving into it. My biggest fear with a lot of these groups that I have spoken to is they think it's fun. They think it's great. Oh, let's put a team together. Let's put ourselves on the internet, Facebook, whatnot. We get a call from a family who's in distress. Again, on a previous show, I did stress the importance that these people who are calling these teams, they are truly in distress. They're not like they're inviting you into their home. They're exposing themselves to their vulnerabilities. They're telling you what's going on, and they're scared. They're scared. They don't know what to do. They've explored all their other spiritual avenues that the family may have, and they're expecting a team that is professional, that is experienced, knows what to do. If not, knows where to go and get the information or the experienced individual to conduct that task. They're in need, and like I said, their spiritual is in danger, their finances are in danger, their family relationships, their health are all in danger. They're calling for help. This is not like, oh, hey, listen, come over to my place tonight. We got nothing better to do. It's not a board game, It's we're coming, they're calling for help. So a lot of people have that misconception. Well, we're just going to go and we're going to investigate you. You're actually in somebody's home. They're letting you in, and they're expecting some professionalism. So I would expect there to be some self-reflection before someone dives into that, to also prepare themselves. Because if they're in danger, then pretty much you're setting yourself up for the same outcome.
Mhm.
That's all I can say really about that.
Okay. So when you're preparing for an investigation, would you take with you something for protection, such as a Bible, a cross, blessed salt, oil?
For me, I take all those things. For the average person, so I always suggest to them to take something that's very religious to them, something very special, something very holy, maybe something that means something that's close to them. People have their crucifix. Others, like for example, on the Ottawa Paranormal Research Team, there's certain members. I always give them certain tasks. One is the person that's putting the oil over top of all my windows. The other one is lighting the candles, and they're already blessed, of course. And I have a very specific, systematic approach to how I go into a case. So the members all know my approach, and they know what needs to get done. So everybody has a task. But for themselves, yes, they're all wearing the Saint Benedict exorcism medal, which is blessed, which I provide for them. A crucifix with it on as well. So as an exorcism crucifix. That they all sort of wear. They're not expensive. They're like literally 50 cents, 75 cents at any Catholic religious store. Those sorts of things. But yes, medals, holy water, salt, crucifix, a Bible, certainly. And of course, before we even enter the dwelling, we as a group will sort of get together in a circle and we'll have prayer. So.
Right. Great. All right. If a person has, excuse me, if a
Yes.
person has problems at home or work, or they're struggling emotionally or mentally with personal issues, should they still go on an investigation, or could these problems increase their potential of negative attachment?
Yeah, it's my suggestion that they don't. I think it's like they say, we shouldn't take our personal business to work with us. If you're a doctor, or nurse, or you work at a factory and you've got some personal problems at home, you really shouldn't bring them to work. What stays at home stays home, and so that same premise should still work. However, if you're not spiritually sound and you're not really prepared to go in to combat something that you don't really know what you're going to see or experience. Again, a police officer gets a 911 call. The police officer says it's a code 20 something or a code 19, whatever. So they know right off the bat, I'm going to a domestic dispute. I'm going to an armed, robbery. So they kind of know what they're going into, and they're experienced because they're dealing with, they've been trained.
Mhm.
Unlike the spiritual, you are going into something that you don't know, so you sort of have to be prepared for the unexpected. So I want to just take this one brief moment just to read, and there's one section in the Holy Bible that really kind of like sums up really what you need to sort of kind of person you need to be, the sort of things you should be prepared to have, and in preparation, because it does address people who actually have to deal with the evil, and it's in Ephesians chapter 6, and I'm just going to start like the entire chapter is basically how one should conduct themselves spiritually in order to combat any sort of evil or in our relationship with God, how we should be dealing. But I'm just going to just start with chapter 10, and I'm just going to read
Okay.
to 16, and then we'll kind of touch on, because some of these topics will come up. So, like, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that he may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand, stand therefore having your loins girt about you with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. So, in those few paragraphs, really, it's telling you, you should have a firm grounding of spiritual sort of gospel, knowing, understanding the gospel, understanding God, His ways, righteousness. It's talking about not relying on your own power, but really relying upon God. I think that's the most important thing to take from those chapters, is that you alone are not going to be able to do this, because you're basically dealing with something that's spiritual, okay, and with in high places, meaning they have a lot of power, a lot of authority, been around a long time, billions and billions of years, and we want to be here a very short period of time. So I think what you should take from that is know that this is a spiritual battle, so you need spiritual weaponry. Number one is having God in your, with you, and you need God to do this. This is not something you're going to be able to go in and say, I'm a demonologist, I can do it all. I can assure you, even I need God to do what I do. I alone don't have the power. It all has to come from God. And that's what this is saying. It's saying, you need God. You need to have the righteousness. You need to have the gospel, the truth, all these things, because you're not dealing with flesh. You're dealing with spirit.
Okay,
So,
thank you. Are there any particular prayers that you would recite during or after an investigation for protection? And could you suggest some prayers that are found in the Bible for?
believe it or not, the Our Father is probably the one that a lot of people use, especially if you're not Catholic. I think the Our Father is very powerful. The whole the Hail Mary. If we're Catholic, I mean, being Catholic, I tend to be more the Rosary, the Saint Michael Archangel prayer. Which was Pope Pius had created when he had a vision of the devil and Christ sort of having a conversation. He developed that one sort of prayer, which was more designed for lay people than it was for priests, but priests use it as well. It's a very short prayer. It's a small little exorcism prayer. So at that point, there were some prayers that were created by the Pope for lay people. But I mean, any prayer is good. I think even if you read one verse, I may just open up the Bible and read one verse, read maybe a psalm, or read something from the Bible, something that's holy. Even like Scripture is very powerful. Evil hates it. Evil hates the Bible. They hate the word. They hate the Bible being out in the open on the kitchen table, and that's sort of one of the things I sort of stress to families when I come in. I say, I don't see your crucifix on the wall. I don't see any Bibles on the table. And I sometimes, actually most times, I end up leaving them a crucifix and I leave them a Bible to put on their wall, and I leave one on their coffee table. Just the Bible sitting on your coffee table alone is very powerful, because it's the Word of God. It's there. They hate it. They don't even want to look at it. So reading from even one verse is extremely powerful. So again, it's whatever you feel comfortable. For myself, John, and the Ottawa Paranormal, we do the St. Michael Archangel prayer before we go in. We sort of do a kind of like a group kind of like powwow, like a football team. We kind of huddle together, do the prayer before we go into the home, and we do one after we leave.
Okay, thank you. And you had mentioned in a previous show, the families that you help need to carry on the spiritual battle afterwards themselves to regain control of their environment. Could you tell us how you would advise them in order to empower themselves to do that?
Certainly, it's again, we're not there to be the sort of like the Wizard of Oz, bibbity bobbity boo. Yeah, your problems are solved. My checks in the mail kind of thing, and we're gone. It doesn't work that way. We're there to sort of take care of the immediate, sort of the acute problem, and then understanding that we're still living in a world where Christ hasn't quite returned yet, and we still have evil influences. Just turn on your TV, right? It's not rocket science. So it's up to the family to say, we're not here to solve your problem. An antibiotic is not going to just, it's going to heal your immediate pneumonia, but you need to start maybe eating well, stay away from stress, taking care of yourself. It's just, maybe start working out a little bit, quit smoking, maybe, eat more fruits and vegetables. So it's that same sort of thing as I'm using that parallel sort of medical sort of terminology is, yeah, sure, I've given you an antibiotic, I've taken care of your immediate infection, you're sort of now out of the woods, but or now I've done something to help your cardiac, maybe had a heart attack, but now you've got to stop smoking and you got to eat well and you got to take care of your heart and maybe exercise, lose some weight, those kind of, so that same premise has to apply in the home. You're asking for spiritual help. Spiritual help has come. It was spiritual, sort of methods, God being, of course, the person that has sort of taken away your problem, immediate problem. Now he's sort of expecting you to sort of carry on that practice. So it's like, yeah, I'm not saying you need to go back to the Catholic Church. That's not what I'm saying. It's, but you find a good Bible-based church. I think a good Christian church. It really doesn't matter. I think God is hearing your heart. I think it's important that you bring prayer back into the family. Having all those practices come back, because it was the absence of those practices that got you into the trouble probably to begin with. It's time to sort of go back. So it's very important they follow through. And I know for a fact that those who have not have called back and said, look, the problem's worse, didn't work. And I'm saying, did you do the things I asked you to do? And they said no. I said, well, there's your kind of like, there's your answer. So and I usually get a return call. They usually know that they've kind of learned their lesson. But yeah, it's expected. It's demanded. That's the first thing I say to the people before I even do anything. As soon as I walk in the home and I sit down with the families, it's the first thing I say. I said, it's the expectation that when I leave here, you will carry on. If you need support, you need help, I will leave you a Bible. I'll leave you a crucifix. I'll leave you the holy water. I usually buy boxes of salt from the dollar store, and even the oil. I buy everything very cheap because you don't need to spend a lot of money. It's not necessary. And I will exercise the salt so it becomes very blessed. I leave them in the box. I use the box to do my business, and then I leave them in the box. I leave them holy water. I've had them call me back, and they've asked me to mail them more stuff, or at least ask where, they ask me where I can get more of that, right? Because they want to carry on with the incense and the water and the oils and whatnot. And that's great. That's what I want to hear. But you need to maintain that. And those who have no reoccurrences.
Great. I must apologize, Bishop. Here's some.
That's okay. Who's our friend here? Who's our furry friend?
Yeah. Excuse me.
He's real, right? I'm only kidding.
Well, have you ever had a situation where an entity returns after having been removed from a place or a person? What are some of the reasons that could happen and the course of action that can be taken if that does happen?
I'm sorry. The question was if there's a reoccurrence?
Yes, if you had a situation where an entity returns after you have removed that entity, what are some of the reasons?
Only once. Only once has returned is because the individual who was this was a full-blown possession. The person was liberated and removed from the home. I took care of the entity. But this person, I guess, has been living with this entity for many, many, many years. I guess grew up in a family that was doing satanic worship and whatnot. It wanted the entity back. It actually asked for it back because it sort of, I guess the Stockholm syndrome. I guess it's kind of like it it felt very empty without being, even though it was tormenting this poor lady, she felt very empty without it, and actually asked for it back. Yeah, we got a call, and she said, "Oh, can you come back and deal with this?" I said, "No, I can't, because now it's 7 times stronger." And that's also in the Bible too. It says, when the demon is being removed, there's an empty space, and this is where God is saying you must fill that empty space now with righteousness and holiness and things of God. Because if you don't, the spirit will return and bring 7 worse demons than its own. And that then becomes a really serious problem. No, we didn't return. We didn't return. We refused. She called other teams to help, and we advised the team, don't bother. This was her choice. I don't know whatever happened to her at that point, but I'm not doing her any favors, because if I go back in and remove the demons this time, and she just decides to change her mind again, now we're dealing with 49 demons, and this is a real problem. So this is why I kind of stressed the importance. Like, I'll do this for you, but remembering that Scripture does not lie. Scripture is quite real. This thing goes. You've got to fill that empty space with something good, and if you don't, it's going to return. This lady outright asked for it back, and it's like, I just shook my head and I said, I'm not. It was a 2-day. It's just a 2-day nonstop. We had the police involved. We've had it was a very ugly scene. It was very ugly, just to remove this thing, and she just wanted it back. I can understand, the weaknesses of the human being, maybe there was some power there, maybe there was something that she was getting from this entity, but it's not advisable. If you're committed to this, then you need to be committed all the way. That's something that must be stressed. And again, this is something that the other teams that go in that don't know this should be stressing this as well to the families, because you could leave a family worse off than you found them, and it was probably better you'd never gone there at all. So this is
And you
very
could put yourself in danger too if you go back, right?
well. Yeah, we've had knives pulled on us. I mean, myself and the Ottawa team, we've had knives pulled out on us. These people who have been oppressed or possessed. It's dangerous. We've had falls down the stairs. There's been attempts on us, in some way or form, and even prior to arriving. Like, you have to remember, these spirits don't work on a time frame like ours. They don't. It's not like a Monday, today, Tuesday. They've got the past, present, and future all at the same time. So they know I'm coming before I even get there, and things are already starting to happen in my home. Problems with my car, problems with, there's all of a sudden there's some fighting going on, or there's some kind of obstacle, or bad weather, or it knows we're coming, and it starts to do its thing before we even get there. So I guess the preparation, the commitment, when you say, okay, we're taking this case, we're going to go, the commitment right then and there. It could be like, you're going to be there next week, or you're going to leave 3 days from now. It's going to happen next Friday. As soon as you say we're going, we're committed, that's when you need to start preparing yourself for that, because it knows you're coming, and then this is where, again, your mindset needs to be right. You've got problems at home. You got a problem with your boss. You're fighting with your wife. Maybe you're doing these things. Got to be gone. You can't be there, because like attracts like, and so you want to go in with a positive, boldness. This is something that even the Catholic Church stresses, for exorcists. When you're doing the prayers, you're doing it with boldness and veracity. You're there, like you're like casting you out. The power of Christ compels you. You're not just saying, "Oh, the power of Christ compels you." You're really giving it. Okay, you're being forceful. You're being commandative. You're being authoritative. So this is what it is required. But if you're going to go there with this, like, well, I'm really having a bad day, and I don't know, my wife's going to leave me, or this, or something happened, or whatever. This is not the place for you to be, because it's going to attract that negative that you're bringing, and you're just going to get more of it. So you need, and that you're putting the other members of the team also at risk. So it's the entire team needs to be ready Okay. I mean, if it's going to be three people going in, it's like if I'm a priest and I'm going in with one person or two persons, those two people have to be solid in what we're doing and prepared. And I actually will do prayer. We're going in as a solid team. It's a unity effort. It's not like, can we tag along, or little Johnny wants to come along and just see how things are. Maybe I want to join the team, but I don't know if I like it. That's not the place and time for that. So it's really, you got to go in with that sort of that mindset. That's what the book is saying, and mindset, we're all in, and we have got God that is going to be working through us to tell us what we need to do, show us what we need to do. It's sort of, it's a collaborative thing. That is so paramount. I don't know how much I can stress that and keep repeating on that. People don't understand. You get that one person that, because like I said, I'll give you an example. I've had a team. I've walked in with 5 people, and I walked out with 2. The other 3 I ran off. One of them actually, the person. I mean, they don't know us. They don't even know our names. They might know my name, but they don't know all the names. And they'll turn over to the individual that's having the problem, saying, "Does your wife know you're having an affair? Does your boss know you're stealing money from work?" Stuff like that will happen because it knows. And that's one of the elements of knowing that there's a demonic presence. It's the knowledge of the unknown. So when it starts to spill out information about you, and your mind's not on the job, your mind is on, whatever is going on in your life that is negative. It will focus on that, and it knows your weaknesses. That's another thing. It knows your weaknesses, and I don't think people understand that. um, um, you got to have that strong heart and that commitment that you're going to go in here. I mean, you're going against a spiritual entity, and I don't mean that just with demons. This also applies to the spirit ghost, like the people who have passed on. They're now in the form of a spirit, and so they're a little bit, they've got a little more power. They're no longer bound by the physical realm, and again, the reason why they're there is it could be because of a negative event, a traumatic event, something that's holding them back, something that will let them move on. And as a result, again, they're still in that kind of that negative state because they're sort of, even though this spirit could be in the home for 300 years, for that individual, it's looping the same scenario over and over and over, the trauma that it experienced. So for that individual, it's just happening as we speak. For us, it's 300 years have passed or more. So, but it's still in that negative state. So again, it is attracted to that negative. And these are sort of little things, little tidbits people should sort of keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. So, what are some of the influencing factors you believe can affect the findings in an investigation, such as time of year, weather, geographical, or historical factors?
I don't really think there's any specific time. The only thing that really, I think, really affects them more is if there's been a change in the environment in the home from its previous owner. So we're talking about a ghost or something. Um, Having said that, I find that if there are spirits there, there's a good chance, like people who've passed on, there's a good chance that there might be a demonic that's lurking in the back, because it likes to sort of use that energy to exist. And, the demonic needs energy, so it sort of lurks there, sort of, because there's a negative about them because they stayed behind. So, people renovating their homes, that's a big one. For example, um, Grant Wilson from Taps again. I was just getting another tweet just the other day. He was saying he's got some poltergeist activity in his home, but he's just finished renovating. They're just starting to move. Apparently, they're moving, and they made some changes to the house. They packed some boxes. They've sort of dispersed some things. They disturbed some things, and all of a sudden the activity sort of escalates. So it's usually, it could be something. It could be a change in the home environment. It could be, maybe there's some fighting going on. Maybe a divorce is in the works. Maybe some children are having some problems. Drug abuse, whatnot. Um, any disturbances in the actual structure, renovating tearing down walls, rebuilding things. Again, to them, they see the home as it was, whenever it was, 100
Mhm.
years ago, and now you're changing it. Okay, and so that sort of sets them off because they're really confused. They don't understand what's going on. So that you'll see an increase in activity during those times. Sometimes a new home. It could be also be a new family moving into a home. Maybe the previous family, there was nothing really there to sort of attract them. Maybe the new family members are coming in. Maybe one or two of the children are a little more sensitive. Maybe there's some dynamics in the family. As soon as they move in, there's an energy involved. It's now starting to sort of reappear, and you'll see more sort of poltergeist activity going on. So these are some of the things that might happen: is a disturbance, something new, a change environment, or but I think number one actually is the renovations. People who renovate, I mean, tearing down walls, making new rooms, um, a major structural changes will really uproot some of these energies.
Mhm. Okay, so what are some of the, excuse me again, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
What are some of the criteria that needs to be met?
Well, you broke up a little bit. I missed the end of that question there. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What are some of the criteria that need to be met or satisfied before you will become involved in an investigation?
Uh, I'll never turn anybody down. I think I've already kind of sort of spoke about that.
Right.
It's the commitment of the team that we're all going to go in together. We sort of have a general consensus, a meeting. I mean, um, the lead investigator will go in and do the initial interview. I'm not part of that. And sort of the research is done, and then all the consents, and there's consent. We make sure that they sign consent forms because we just don't know what all the outcomes are going to be, like anything else. But it's me speaking to the family one on one on when I actually get there and say, okay, this is what I expect. I'm expecting that you're going to carry on with sort of a more positive, righteous sort of lifestyle. I'm not asking you to be a Catholic. I'm not asking you to turn to a Jew. I'm asking someone to change their lifestyle. We can sometimes get down to the bottom. I usually my part of the investigation, I usually can narrow down what was the cause of the problem. What did they do? Was it a Ouija board? Was it a seance? Was there something in the history in their lineage? Maybe something they dabbled in. Whatever the reason may be, so I can get down to sort of the problem. So, but I'm expecting that will change. That if you're involved in something, then you know what, you got to stop. And so I'm asking for a sort of a verbal commitment, not asking anything contractual, but I need you to know. I want them to know. It's like again, I'm going to use the medical terms, right? You're going for surgery. The doctor is going to tell you, this is what we expect. These are the side effects. These could be the negative outcomes. These are the risks. And then after the surgery, you're gonna need 3 months of rehabilitation, and you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this. So it's the expectation. So I'm going in there with all those same kind of parameters as a medical practitioner, and I'm going to be saying, this is what we're going to do. But I'm expecting after the fact that you're going to carry on with some kind of spiritual life. You're going to change your ways. You're going to spend more time with the family together. Some of the wholesome things, the Bible reading every night, and those sorts of things. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be Catholic. It doesn't have to be any other denomination. It's something that you feel comfortable. It could just be even a prayer group. Just as long as you don't even have to go to a church. As long as get a Bible out, do some scripture reading. You're making an honest effort to change, and that is really what I'm looking for. I don't get paid for this. I don't ask for money. I don't want money, but I'm asking for a commitment. I'm driving 3 or 4 hours to someone's place. I'm going to spend an entire night there. I'm giving up 2 or 3 days that I could be working, earning money. And you're taking the time away from perhaps another 5 or 6 members of a team. That's our weekend. That's our Saturday night. That's our Sunday. And we spend a day or two or an all-nighter somewhere. And this is a commitment. We meet, our time, our families, we put ourselves at risk. We expect the individual to put some effort into their own healing.
Okay.
That's what we're asking. That's all we ask.
Okay. Okay. Now, lastly, you and the Ottawa Paranormal Research Society have plans to film with Trinity Productions this year, which our show is only too pleased to hear about as well as support. Would you like to give our viewers some insight on these plans for your shows?
Yeah, we was fortunate enough. The team leader John Moore of the Ottawa Paranormal Research was able to secure a sort of a contract with a production company in Ottawa, Canadian production company that is looking to sort of take this paranormal research to sort of a different direction than what you would normally see on TV today. A lot of the shows that you see out there, and some are good, some are bad, some are in between. I think that the approach is more not along the lines of, okay, oh, look at that, we heard a ghost. Oh, did you hear that bump? Did you hear that door move? Did you hear that voice? And then go back, look over the audio and whatnot. This approach is more of uh, from the beginning to the end. It's the investigation, it's the interview, it's the teaching, the understanding of what's going on, the research, sort of like get down to the meat of the matter, why it's happening, and then what we're going to do to fix it. And then my part, because now you're going to see a priest in this sort of component, is me. I mean, worst case, I'm dealing with a demon. Least case, they're getting their house blessed. So and it's and again, the stuff that I've sort of already mentioned now, in regards to telling the families how to go forward, that will all be part of it. So I think it's now really showing the public really what's going on without all the hype. We're trying to avoid the hype. It's not Hollywood. We're not gonna, romanticize it and fluff and puff it all up and say, "Oh, look, did you hear that noise? Oh, did you see that?" It's more about, this is really what goes on. This is what happens, and we're hoping to do. I'm not sure how many episodes. We're hoping that we can do enough that we can take it further to perhaps a new level and show people exactly what really goes on, because I think it's important for families that are out there who actually have trouble but are afraid to call because all they see is what they see on TV. They're saying, well, look, there's a team that's coming in and they left. They didn't help anybody, so I don't want them to have the misconception that, look at that. Why are we going to bother? Maybe we don't want to be on TV. You don't have to be. If you need help, you need to call. Also, to understand that this stuff is real. This stuff is dangerous, and that there are people out there who take this stuff seriously. And then we're also going to present ourselves as the professional team that we need to be. All the sort of components that go on with being that professional team, doing everything that we need, the discussions, the dialogue, the processes. I'm going to go through my part because my approach is different than I think most priests will do. Most priests will just go in and do a sort of a house blessing. Well, you don't put on you don't put on a clean pair of socks until if you haven't taken a shower, kind of sort of thing. We sort of like, you clean pair of socks after you're sort of clean, right? So my approach is different. I sort of exercise and cleanse the entire premise. Even if there's no demons around, there is a way to sort of cleanse the home, then re-bless the home, and then at the very least, the family's getting the comfort of knowing the home is blessed, it's solid. They're going forward with some good practices, which is maybe some scripture reading, maybe some holy water sprinkled once a week, or whatever they decide they want to do, or what we can help them do. I think that's what we want to do with the show. We want to take it from a different approach. We want to educate. I think it'll be a great tool to teach teams out there what it's really like, what to expect, because a lot of times it's boring. I think you probably know this. You'll spend 12 hours all night, 7 p.m. and home, you're falling asleep, and the stuff is just recording, and you're not getting anything. And then you'll take the stuff home with you, and 3 or 4 people will spend weeks, literally weeks, slowly going through the audio and the visual and still not find anything. So there's a lot of time spent in people, and on our own time with no money and no compensation. Not that we're asking for any. This is something we want to do because we enjoy it. But there's a lot of investment put into this, and I think people need to understand that that's really what it takes to be a paranormal investigator. And if you do find something that is problematic, then my component will come in, and of course, that is also supported by the team, because what I do needs to be supported by the team. What the team does, I need to support as well as that spiritual sort of director. So this is what the whole show is based on, and we're hoping that will. Right now, I think they're in the process of securing a few more locations. And once we have all the locations and the time frames and the weeks that we're going to do them, we're hoping by the end of this year we'll have a set of episodes that we can sort of put on the air. And if people like them, then we'll sort of go forward from there. But I think it's a great teaching tool. I think that's what we really want it to be, is a great teaching tool.
Great. I'm really looking forward to seeing them myself, because I think, as you say, an awful lot of people, they watch TV and, oh, gee, I could do that. And they have no experience whatsoever.
But it's not even real. It's not even real. It's I've spoken to quite a few of these teams that have been on TV, and they'll spend literally a week to 2 weeks to do one episode. They actually film over 2 weeks to do one episode, and they say, they've told me, and I'm not going to mention names, they've told me, that they've been made to walk through the same door 15 times, walking from a different angle, so the camera can take it this side and take it from this side. So, how do you conduct an investigation when you say, okay, stop, let's do it again. No, do it again, do it. And then maybe through the 2 weeks of filming, you actually capture something and start to integrate it in there. So it's not true. It's not real in a sense that, it's theatrical.
I mean, heck, they're guaranteed that they're going to see something on each show just to keep the ratings up. Well,
of course, but it's not real, because it's not something like we're not going to walk through that same corridor 15 times to get 6 different camera views.
Right.
And you have to wear the same thing, because this filming for that one little 3-minute scene, it takes 3 days to do. So you're wearing the same clothes, and you're doing, and you got to have the same makeup on, and same everything. The continuity, and it's Hollywood, it's theatrics, and it's fine, it's entertaining, and I mean there's some element to what they're doing is what paranormal teams do, but it's not real. I mean, you have to understand that you might investigate 30 homes, and maybe 5 of them you might actually get something on film or something on audio. There's been a lot of times I've gone out with the team. I've driven 3.5 hours to Ottawa. I go out with a team. We'll spend the entire night there, and then I'll drive 3 hours home after a whole entire one night being awake, and we didn't hear anything. We didn't hear one bleep or one bump or one nothing. And then, of course, John, the team lead, would go home and watch this stuff very slowly, because sometimes you've got to replay it in order to actually see if you actually caught something, because it was, it happened so quickly. And he might or he might not, but he'll spend countless hours doing that. People don't understand the investment that it takes. The cost of the equipment is phenomenal. If you want the proper equipment, it isn't like you just go out and get one of those paranormal starter kits for $50, and they get this. Well, they're out there, and you can John's been doing this a long time. To his credit, I like John. He's great. He's a professional. He's the one who called me, and I joined his team. But he's been doing it for many years, and his collection of equipment has, of course, accumulated. He invested a lot of his own money, a lot of his own time, into this, and it's all really, it's his own time, it's his weekends, it's his evenings, it's his his vacation time, that he's trying to sort of comb through all this material, and at the end of it all, not really have anything to sort of to present. So I think that's what we're trying to show people is, people will have complaints. Some are legit, some are not. We'll come in, we'll do our part.
Yeah.
at the very least, they're going to get a house that's blessed, a house that's clean, and if there's nothing, all the better. I mean, not having something is a positive thing. It doesn't mean, oh, you shouldn't be sad about not, oh, look, you didn't find a demon. Well, that's good. You should be happy. you know, I mean, who'd want to be excited about knowing you had a demon in your house? So, if you have one, we'll take care of it. If you don't have one, be grateful. But it means let's continue doing some good things to make sure that you don't get one, and it's more. It could also just be a verification of what, there really isn't anything here. I think there's something, maybe something that you're worried about. So at the very least, it's more of a placebo effect for the client to say, you know what, um, the team came in, they didn't find anything. The priest was in. I got my house blessed. He left me a Bible. He left me a crucifix, a bottle of holy water. I feel better. And really, at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. It's the client feels good. He feels, he or she feels good. The parents feel safe that their home is good. Maybe they bought a century-old home and they feel good about being there with their young ones. Okay, so really, that's really what it all comes down to is making sure that the client is happy. So just because you don't find a demon or a ghost or some kind of history, don't be alarmed by that. I mean, these are good things. So so just going there is a confirmation. But it's nice to be able to show some of the dynamics of a team and what it has to go through. Because I mean, I'm sure it's rigorous, it's time consuming, it's
Yes.
tiresome. There's no reward, and then we're looking for any reward. But and sometimes they will spend uh, countless visits, countless different locations, and come up with not find anything. But if we do, then of course that professionalism needs to come in, and the knowledge to say, what, I can't deal with this. I don't know what to do. This is beyond my scope. I need to find someone who knows what to do. And that's the other part, is no one, I've been there, I've seen it, I believe the family, they're terrified. Heck, I'm terrified. I'm gonna I'm gonna get some help. So this is sort of the things that we're going to sort of show on the show. And I'm hoping that people will not be bored by it, but actually see truly what it really entails to be an investigator.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing it myself. I can't wait till your series comes out.
Yeah, I'm just waiting on dates. That's all I'm waiting on.
Do you know yet what channel it will be on?
I have no idea how it's going to be presented at this point. Uh, I haven't actually met the producers yet. There's still a date to be made to be scheduled for me to actually meet up with them. I'll have more details perhaps, and I'll certainly share it with you. I'm not sure where that's going to be shown. It might be on a YouTube sort of scenario. It might be Amazon. I'm not really sure. Probably an Amazon scenario. Like I said, I think it would be nice if we could get it to a point where we can maybe get it on Netflix or something
Hmm.
at some point, which would be, and to see how that would fly. But I'm not really sure. It won't be like I'm not sure where it's going to be. It may just be an online thing for now. But again, I don't have all the details. This is something that John um, successfully sort of accomplished with a production team to get a contract. And there's some planning already in the works. I think that right now they're in the process of looking for locations. I think they're looking for more institutional locations rather than homes,
Right.
like jails and hospitals, asylums, those sorts of things. The approach again is the same. I think they're also looking to find places where people say there might be an entity, and in some way we'll be able to sort of help them confirm that there is definitely something here, because a lot of people actually like the idea that there's something there for their own venue purposes. My bed and breakfast is haunted, come for a weekend. uh, I don't know. I, I got nothing to deal with. If that's what you want, that's entirely up to you.
As the old saying goes, go sell.
Well,
Yeah.
everybody has their own agenda, and that's perfectly fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah,
Okay.
some people. So, okay, well, thank you so much. That was very interesting,
All
and I'm
right. Well,
looking
appreciate
forward
it.
to seeing.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to doing this again, and we'll try to find
Okay,
some other interesting topics. Hopefully, we can come up with, and I'll keep you updated on what's going on in Ottawa.
all right. And personally, I think really I should leave that little faux pas that I had at the start of the show. Don't you? Leave it in there. I
Sure.
think you have a good chuckle. It's my
Well,
mistake.
well, like I said, these shows that we do, everything we do, and when we talk about the supernatural, we're talking about the spirit world. Sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes those little flukes are just their way of saying we're not happy, and I laugh about it because it's not the first time. Like you're well aware of how many times we've tried to log on, and there's been a few
Oh,
shows we've had to
absolutely.
cancel, and I've got this, and I'll be honest, I got the same equipment, the same microphone, the same everything. It worked today. It may
Yep.
not work next week. So, and it's just the way that it is. It's just, and I can't explain it, but these things happen. I mean,
Oh, they do.
these little quirks will occur, and they're basically just the spirit world might be saying, well, I'm not liking what you're talking about because you're kind of giving away the secrets. So,
Right.
but this is, I'm my point being, it happens, and you know what, I'm used to it. So, so leave it in there because it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Bishop Plato, thank you so very much for coming back on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you, and I'm
Oh,
looking forward to having
it's my
you again.
pleasure.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right, you take care.
You too. God bless.
Okay, God bless. God bless.
Bye bye.
Bye now.
Thank you so much, folks, for watching the show. Our special guest tonight was Bishop Plato Angelakis, and the topic was spiritual protection when dealing with evil. So, you take care, and we shall see you again. Bye for now. God bless.